let's talk about what matters now and what you should be doing to improve to make sure that your SEO is future-proof or even improve your ranking right now. So in terms of, I promise I won't be talking too much about technical. I hope I haven't lied. I don't know how many people are tech-oriented in the team and in the group. I should be pretty light. So technical, what we've seen with technical SEO is really a renaissance. I think the system, the stacks have changed so much since just the basic WordPress that you need to have a slightly different thinking. The first one is obviously mobile. Obviously, 31% of leisure travel booked on smartphone, 53 business travel booked with the smartphone, and even more people do research, do their research phase with mobile. So it's really mobile first experience and indexation by Google that we're seeing. And for those of you that are familiar, over 60% of Google's search AMP, which is accelerated mobile page, 60% of clicks from AMP now go to non-news related websites. So AMP is a framework that's been developed by Google and adopted by other search engines as an open web source project. And for those of you that attempted it 2 years ago and were really disappointed of a barren strict website that couldn't be tracked and so on and so forth, the whole platform came a long way. And this is, and with RankBrain and voice search, it's probably one of the hottest topic amongst SEO professionals. How do you maximize the AMP visibility and presentation? Why use AMP? Well, it's simple. It creates lightning fast experience. It really reduces the size of your web pages. So Google puts the standard load time standard as under 2 seconds. I'm sure if we all go to or PageSpeed Insights and test or homepage and a couple of post pages, we may not reach that kind of 2 second threshold. But basically, if you connect automatically with the AMP on your WordPress, it's almost half or more than half the page size. And if you do further optimization or hand code your own AMP page, it can be even better. In terms of how it looks, well, this is our website. Well, hi, Kirsty, you're on show. On the left side, this is by default or mobile responsive site. I've had to scroll down a little bit just to give roughly the same height. Contains the information, contains the buttons and more colors and everything. And on the right side, this is our automated AMP page. A bit more stripped down, but actually I find that the navigation is somehow more fluid, and the difference in speed loading is significant. So it's not like you're going to just get text only and a few blue links. You can actually add buttons. I just got lazy in not doing that just yet. So AMP, it's really something that you should be looking at if you haven't. If you are going to do that, I highly recommend you look at a way to track your pages, because AMP by default strips out all your JavaScript. And if they strip out your JavaScript, they will strip out Google Analytics by default and all other tracking methods. So there are different ways of doing it. There are plugins that exist within WordPress and other platform to actually track your AMP pages. Or if, like us, you use Google Tag Manager to put all your tracking code in, you have a system by default to create an AMP pages. So You go in your Google Tag Manager, you add a new container, and basically in the container setting, you enter the details, sets at AMP, and then you follow the prompt in implementing the different tracking you want on your pages. So make sure you do that. Friend of mine actually saw traffic double from one day to the other by having a hand from a common friend because she forgot to enable AMP tracking on a site and put the right container. So that could have a significant impact on the way you track websites. It's not a straightforward answer as click 2 buttons and you're done. However, it is not overly complicated for you to implement. So that's AMP. That's basically to provide lightning fast pages that are really focused on delivering content rather than loading ads or tracking. I'm sure you have all the experience when you're trying to access a blog or access an article on your desktop or your mobile that isn't AMP. It just takes ages to load, and all you see the loading is all the tracking and all the ads and things like that are really frustrating. So that's the objective, is to create a really good first experience on your site, providing the content and just the content. But once a user is through the site, you might want to look at what we call PWA, or progressive web apps. Progressive web apps are effectively the web answer to native mobile apps. It's a solution to create an app that is accessible directly on a website and create a rich user experience that leverage your mobile phone hardware. So again, PWA, not a straightforward answer. You don't create that out of the box on WordPress, but certainly for those of you looking at a more advanced engagement and typically have travel e-commerce websites, that's how I would recommend building a website nowadays. Create a really good smack bang experience on providing information to people landing on your site, and then improving progressively the experience all the way to feels like you're on a native app. So what are progressive web apps? They, as I mentioned, they're just like your smartphone app. So it really makes use of all the phone hardware, location, gyro, and all sorts of things. Quite handy to provide extra information. But they can be used on regular web page to create a richer experience if you are in a native environment on iOS or Android. And I think the one part that isn't automatically scare people initially, go, wow, okay, that looks complicated. No, actually, it makes life a hell lot simpler by creating only one code base. So you can use the same code base for your mobile, for your website, as well as for your native apps directly. So if you intend to run apps on Android and iOS, and you want a website that has some proper functionalities, progressive web app will make your life a lot simpler to do that. So this is an example. Basically, Facebook ad will get you access to all the functions on your phone, whereas a normal site wouldn't. But progressive web apps does the trick. Another thing is when typically people start looking at progressive web apps or more advanced function, and something that is very trendy in the development areas, is a lot of people are looking at using JavaScript framework as both front end and back end. For me, as a web geek, I love JavaScript. I love JavaScript front end and what it can do and bring really personalized experience and have a much richer engagement. The problem is, as an SEO, it can be a bit difficult to use. I know Angular has been particularly popular in the last couple of years. But actually, Angular, despite being built by Google, is actually pretty crap when it comes to SEO. It can't be fetched on Google Search Console. The URL can be indexed, but the content will not be, and you can't test the URL. So far, the platform that I've seen doing the best is React with the React Inline, and I recommend you have a look at it. So if you're working with your devs and they say, "Oh, we're going to move to a headless system and we're going to use a JavaScript framework," be careful, because that could have a significant impact on your SEO activity. Effectively, if you just serve JavaScript pages to Google, they won't be able to see any of your content. It will not be loaded directly, so you'll need to pre-render that content. And the pre-render.io is one of the tools that is some of the most popular in the market, but certainly something that you need to look into. So this is a warning. Again, I can spend easily an hour on that. I promise Kirsty I wouldn't. So I'm just going to move on to other topics around developing future-proofing a platform. Something I've seen with the rise of progressive web app, Messenger, chatbots, and all the Internet of Things is the diversification of platforms to engage with the brain, to engage with content. And as a result, the thinking around around how we use and produce content has to be updated. For me, your content should not be seen as just a static web page, HTML you've created on WYSIWYG on WordPress. That's well and good for up to now, but moving forward, you should look at your content as assets, a database of assets with that can be tagged and cut in different pieces, whether it's to answer a short question on Google Voice, whether it's to be used by your chatbot, whether it's something that you want to send as an alert with your SMS for each and every change. Those are the kind of things you need to look into. So this is not building a content management platform is not a straightforward answer. There are a couple of them out there that I've looked at and started implementing with clients. If you want more info, I highly encourage you get in touch with me later on to discuss that. But have a think about how your content needs to be viewed as snippets of content, not just that big one document that you built on WYSIWYG and that's it, you won't use again. So the ability to multi-use the content will become critical as the web become more fragmented. And as a result, this is a bit of a schema of how I see the new environment for the web to be developed. So you'll have the front stage, basically the publishing element, where it will be the site content will be published on a responsive site, or either on mobile apps or an ebook, game console, or messenger. So it will just go out to those multiple platforms that will being able to embed and use the content in different format. So all your content needs to be format free. It'll just be the raw information. You'll have a content API that will get and pull and input the content in the different front stage based on requirements. And at the backstage, you'll have all the content stored in a database with a lot of tags, and basically you'll have content strategy or AI-driven solution, plus engineering, production team, and business all working towards building different approaches how to use content and making sure that all aspects of user engagement are covered with relevant piece. So that's what I started to see amongst our bigger clients. That's what we've discussed with a number of people we're working with, and also something I've seen amongst the PNO industry. So that's more advanced than most, but certainly from what I've seen in my 10 years is if this is used by the early adopters, it will become a mainstream element for the majority of mid-market, low-end enterprise within the next 1 to 2 years, just to stay competitive. The other things in terms of development is, and this is quite exciting to me, is Google is putting patents out there to bypass completely the standard HTML page. So in the schema is taken from the US Patent Office. You can see that one of the search results says this is not a web page, but Google search a database to find the information for you. This database may be useful to you. So that will provide, instead of going and crawling and indexing an HTML page, they go and make a request directly in the database. Hey, someone is looking for a Canon 5D camera under $3,000. If Camera Warehouse has connected directly to the database, and they happen to have a promo on that particular camera for that week, or for that day, or for that hour, Google will be able to surface that content immediately. And that will be far more efficient in terms of resources. So think about the opportunity, think about what it's open in terms of personalization, and what it can create in terms of dynamic search results. You have you're an airline, you want to sell a set of seats. You'll connect directly to you from not just from your website, but actually potentially from your Amadeus or Sabre cache of seats available, and you can start surfacing flights under $200 to Bali, because you need to fill up the last few seats that you have in economy before the plane takes off. So that's a kind of opportunity you have, and really create dynamic content based on that, plus potentially personalized content. So your Delta top tier frequent flyer, you have access to a better deal, or better deal on business class for certain flights. Well, that will be able to be fetched directly, especially when you get personalized results. So, and again, personalized search, what we'll see is a lot more searches that will appear based on what you're doing, and showing things like your Gmail activity. So how do you take advantage of all of that? And starting from something simple. The first one, as I mentioned, of 500,000 keywords that we're tracking for a client, there is only 3,000 that do not have markups on them, or do not have ads on them. So my take is, if you're not using markups yet, do it, because it really creates, it's like milk and cookie for Google. It shows them exactly what, from an unstructured data to something really clear and comprehensible, so they can get something really easily read. And even Gary Ellis, webmaster trainer analyst, someone that is quite vocal in the SEO community, says, I want to live in a world where schema is not important, but currently we need it. If a team at Google recommends it, you probably should make use of it, as schema help us understand the content of the page and using certain search features, but not ranking algorithm. So it helps you get a better search result, more visible search results, but it doesn't help you rank better, although indirectly it might, and I'll go there in a second. So how to use markup? You want to use markup for a couple of reasons: increasing click-through rate, but also ultimately leading you to get to voice search, which is a hot topic at the moment. So the reason for that is Schema creates a rich SERP results. So if you go and Google chocolate mousse right now on your phone or your desktop, you'll see that there are plenty of images, star rating, maybe not in chocolate mousse, but they include some calorie counts, time it takes to cook, to prepare. So really great results. You get a lot of information straight up, beautiful images that come into play, so that you create richer info. People are ready to use that. And typically rich results, the one with star rating, the one with details, get not only better, a larger size on such a result page, but also get better click-through rate. Again, they provide better information, which leads to people being more engaged and wanting to go directly to the page. And what's interesting is a better click-through rate typically is equivalent to a more valid, trusted answer. And this is part of RankBrain, which is the third biggest ranking factor in Google. Is Google look at patterns of what users are doing. And if it turns out that your site is showing, say, in third position, but actually gets more clicks than it's expected being in third position, and actually get more click than, say, the second guys, that will give you a bump up in rankings. So you might go to number 2 just by having a better answer to users, and not necessarily by the traditional SEO ranking factors. So from there, if you are seen as a valid and trusted answer, you get to appear on featured snippets. And most featured snippets, the definition, the way you see that is they are taken from websites that Google consider to be reliable sources, reliable sites with deep knowledge and expertise for that particular topic, and provide also good user engagement. We've been working with the clients for a while, and over the years we've developed thousands of really in-depth, detailed articles about carriers and whatnot, and really became an authority in their field. And now half of their, maybe not half, but a third of their articles are showing now in featured snippet, which means that they get a big chunk of the search result pages appearing automatically. And now what's the cool thing is, not only you get greater visibility, more likely to get more clicks on that page, but also the featured snippets are used in voice answers. So when, if you have a Google Home at home, have a try, and have a try on do a search, see which feature snippets comes out, and ask the same question on what's, and see what they say. Typically, Google say, okay, I found, according to Wikipedia, according to Jalopnik, according to Visit Tokyo, blah, 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 the best time for to view the Sakura in Tokyo is from April to May, so on and so forth. So again, and this starts with just having feature snippets appearing on the site, and good solid content and good solid answers for that. In terms of the snippets you was considering, obviously video units. People also ask, so how you get that is through branding, get search for with after the queries. So ask people to search for your brand. So we had a small test, inconclusive just yet, because it was too small of a sample. But if you use that in your out-of-home campaigns, or in your video campaigns, on your radio campaigns, digital radio or radio, instead of searching for, ask people to search for a specific thing. So the example I've seen on TV a couple of years ago was with TripAdvisor. So TripAdvisor said, ask people to search for, don't search for hotel in New York, search for TripAdvisor hotel in New York. And that was very clever because now it kick-started an algorithm change, or basically it kick-started a trend for Google Suggest to now you start searching for hotel in New York, and the first result you would see is hotel in New York, TripAdvisor. So that was a really, really clever way for them to basically get their brand out there and into search results quickly. So again, not necessarily the easiest, but certainly if you have a niche, that's something you can, or you have a physical location, that's something you can try. Feature snippets, again, your phrasing and the position of your short answer in content, generally at the top. Map, knowledge panel, that's top stories. To get Google News, there is a little bit more setups you can do, but again, everything is very well documented in that space. Make sure all your images are relevant, have attributes, a direct embed. I'll talk into more details on how to get traction in there. Apps, books as well. So a friend of mine just published a book on Amazon, and so that's an opportunity to again promote your brand, get some traction, be seen. Anything with tweets, make sure your verified accounts are verified in Google+. They're verified across all the setups, so all your entities are connected. And other things like in-depth articles. You can tag those things as, you can tag certain pages as in-depth articles. So that's worth looking into. So to the person that asked me as well, how do I get to voice search besides the now appearing feature snippets? Schema.org is working on a set of specifications that include Speakable. So soon you'll be able to, or right now you can play with it. You'll be able to define what is a speakable answer for voice search, and I recommend using that because from what I've seen, I just came back from South by Southwest, which is basically a bit of an nerdgasm, or the Grand Fest of geeks. It's a bit of the wild, from everyone there, it's a bit of the Wild West at the moment with voice search. It's a bit like the 90s with phone. It's very early days. People are figuring out what they're doing, figuring out how they're going to use the tools. If you can provide directly structured information to say this is what should be said in by an Alexa, Google, or any other Viv or whatnot tool that use, or Cortana use voice search, you'll get an edge, and that will be against bigger companies. My recommendation is trial that. It won't necessarily be a game changer, but see what works. And if you start seeing some impact, then you can roll out to broader sections of your site. Also, part of being able to be listed in voice search is you need to make sure that your answer meets the ratings, quality ratings from a search perspective. And Google has provided some top-level guidelines that you can look at once I share the slides with you. If you're a bit stuck in finding what to write for search answer, I think one of the places you could look at, I really like that tool, is Answer the Public. So that's create the diagram on the right. So if you start with OK Google, and you'll see the questions that that people have asked. And okay, Google. There was one on Easter eggs. I can't remember. I don't see where it is. But those are all the questions that can be asked with the start and okay, Google. And so that could be interesting. At the moment, Google hasn't been very straightforward into the questions that are being asked. But this is something you can look at. Anything with what, who, how, where, basically anything question related is likely to be used in voice search. Remember, when we type for hotels in Sydney, or that's the short version for okay, Google, what are some good hotels in Sydney? So now all your keywords, all your phrases will become significantly longer, and that's where we'll have a giant long tail of keywords and content created. So now talking about